This video, I'm going to be showing you the difference between the 3D level of consciousness, the 4D level of consciousness, and the 5D level of consciousness. I'm also going to be sharing with you how to shift through those in an easy manner so that you start to expand your awareness. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the differences between all of the different dimensions. Well, not all of them, 3D, 4D, and 5D. And I'll be honest, this is a little bit more of an esoteric video than I have done recently. Normally it's on understanding the metaphysics of the law of attraction, how to apply it in a powerful way. This is going to step further, and what I want to do is take you guys with me and show you some of the different levels of consciousness, because I have talked about different states of vibration and how when we raise our vibration, it can completely change our lives and we start to see things from completely new perspectives. Part of that has to do with understanding dimensions. Now, let me first off say that sometimes dimensions is kind of taking into a more of extreme type understanding, to where to some people dimensions mean in order to be in these different dimensions, you have to be in a totally different space. However, I believe that we in the same, in a way, place can embody characteristics of each of these different levels of consciousness. So in general, I'm talking about 3D, 4D, 5D. 3D normally can sometimes be arguably the idea of 3D is 4D in a certain way, because, or we are in 4D because we have that of 3 parts of space and 1 of time, so we're automatically in 4D. However, I'm using the stereotypical understanding for this process. Now, first off, let's understand 3D level of consciousness. Now, 3D level of consciousness has to do with mainly polarization, has to do with understanding duality. So in the idea of 3D, we have that of the left brain, the right brain. We have the idea of the polarization of viewpoints. Labels are very strong in 3D. For a certain period of time, and for a long period of time, the planet has been in a 3D level of consciousness. Now, what this means is that we are very identified with labels. We are identified with positionalities, meaning certain perspectives, and we say, this is me, that is you, and we really accentuate those labels. Now, we may say, oh, well, there's still that right now. There's still those labels going on, so aren't we still in 3D? However, some of the aspects of 3D continue to play itself out in a way to where things always, war will happen. You know, it doesn't all have to be bad, but in general, because there is so much polarization, we're going to have a lot of light and a lot of dark at the same time. So when we look around and we see that we, for thousands of years, have been in a 3D level of consciousness, we can see that it is a certain cycle at the same time. There's a cycle to us having these type of viewpoints, to be relating to other people in a certain way. And if I were to bring out the understanding of the law or the consciousness chart that I've shared before from the book called Power versus Fort, you'll see that right over here, there is a whole bunch of different emotional states of being. Now, I'm going to use this chart to help understand this, because I don't think I've ever seen anyone do it, but also because it helps us understand the different emotional set points. So you'll see at the bottom we have emotions such as shame, fear, guilt, all the way up to that of anger, and then eventually we get up to that of neutrality, willingness, love is above that, and then enlightenment, peace, and then enlightenment at the top. So this is all a vibrational scale, and as we raise our vibration, or as we let go of lower emotions, we raise our vibration, and we also start to shift between different perceptions of dimensional consciousness. So we could say that in 3D level of consciousness, we're mainly in the lower emotions, and we can get to neutrality, into willingness. Think of 3D also as very connected to that of the solar plexus. The solar plexus is the will, the drive, the doing. It's more related to the materialistic, and there's nothing wrong with this. Let me also say that none of this is good or bad. It just simply is. So when we see that, there's a lot of things that can be learned in 3D level of consciousness. We can learn how to focus. Things in 3D tend to be a little bit slower. So when we want to manifest something or create something in our lives, there's a little bit more action that's necessary. There's a little bit more of a time lag between what we're thinking and what we experience, because in 3D level of consciousness, linear type understandings are essential or very emphasized. So this is the past, this is the present, this is the future. It's very like that's the way things are. Very cause and effect type mentality. So when we see that it's mainly a lot of the heavier emotions, you can think of 3D as a lot more heavy than that of 4 and 5D. We can see that that's a way the earth has been for a very long time. That's the way we have at least been perceiving things as a mass level of consciousness. Now, that in a way is 3D. So what is now happening is we are shifting between 3D going to 4 and 5D right now on the planet. Now, there's different people that are in different kind of bubbles in a way. They're having their own experiences. Some people are having much more 3D experiences than a lot of other people. Like me, for example, I don't watch the news. I'm not saying that I'm higher than anybody else or that I'm like on some pedestal. I'm simply saying that one of the reasons I don't watch the news is because the news will take you back into that 3D level of consciousness of saying, you are you and I am me and you're right and you're wrong. That will cause polarization. So the idea is that I don't watch it, and because I don't watch it, I'm able to focus on what I love to do, and that puts me into a higher vibrational state of consciousness, and it also allows me to do what I love, which then puts me into that 4D level of consciousness. Now, let's look at 4D. 4D level of consciousness is more so of a not necessarily a dreamlike state, but it's much more flexible. You can create things that you want in your life in a much faster way. You could think of 4D as kind of an initiation to 5D level of consciousness, and in 4D level of consciousness, which is where we are all, not all of us, but we are, in a way, you see, this is the thing. In the community of understanding spiritual awakening, sometimes they say that there's this shift happening right now and that some people will make it and some people won't. It's more so a level of consciousness. It's something we're doing physically. This isn't like the rapture where we leave our body and we just appear somewhere else. This is more of a practical type thing where we are doing this all together. We are raising our vibration as a collective consciousness, and some people a little bit quicker than others, but that's that bubble that I was talking about, and that is affecting everybody. And as we do that, we start to perceive of new types of things. We start to realize that we can create what we want in a much easier way than before, because before things were so much slower. And at 3D level of consciousness, you had to really try really hard. A lot of resistance would come up and things wouldn't happen very easy. But when you start to realize that in a way, this is where we can let go of old belief systems. So in 4D, we become aware also in a way of spiritual awakening. We may have a spiritual awakening. Most likely, if you watch my videos, you are already in this level of consciousness. So it's just now you are becoming aware of it. So what this means is that you are aware that your beliefs create your reality. Even if you aren't aware of it, you're at least aware that there's more to life than just the physical. And the 3D level of consciousness, a lot of times, it's mainly just emphasized that we are physical, that is who we are. In 4D, we become more aware that we are spiritual beings having a temporary human experience. And that in a way, in a metaphorical type way, we could start to see life as more of a dream, more of a game that we can play. We realize things are more flexible in 4D level of consciousness, that there's more malleability to what we experience. It's a much more light. As we go up in dimensions or densities, which dimensions and densities are a little bit different. If you guys want me to make a video on that, let me know. But what happens is we become lighter because we're raising our vibration. Think of it also like this. As we let go of those lower emotions with 3D level of consciousness, then we start to raise our vibration, and letting go is where we raise our vibration. Now also know that these dimensions all overlay each other. So it's not like necessarily I'm in 3D, that person's in 4D, we're in different realities, although in a way we are in different realities because we're having different perceptions. But nonetheless, 4D level of consciousness, you can think of, one of my favorite analogies of this is think of like Harry Potter, for example. Harry Potter, I think one of the reasons so many people really resonated with that book, and when a lot of people, even me, when I was done reading the whole series, kind of to go back into daily life was not as cool. It was not as fun as being immersed into the books. And I believe that's because many of us are used to the higher densities rather than coming into this life and being in the 3D type experience. But right now there's a transformation happening on the planet, and so many people decided to be here to be part of the shift. That's why there's 7 billion people, over 7 billion people here right now, because we didn't want to miss the experience of this transition that's happening right now. This isn't something that's going to happen in like 30, 50 years. It's something that's happening right now. It will just continue to increase and increase as we go along. And that's why even channels like this you'll see are growing quickly, because it's about that awareness and more people are becoming aware and awake. So in a way, the idea of that malleability, of the idea of having different abilities as well. So this is where we may tap more into our intuition. We may be able to remote view or astral project. This is where the third eye is normally opened. Now I know a lot of these seem like esoteric ideas, but there is a lot of ancient understanding to it. It has been around for thousands of years of understanding different ideas like this. And we are now starting to remember this state, and we're starting to become more aware of who we are. Now, in that of the fourth dimension, we can still have positive and negative, but it's from a different place. It's from this, from a higher aware state. So positive and negative can still exist. You can have someone in the fourth dimension that still has more of a negative type mindset. And it's more so about, though, that as you progress in a positive way, you start to really raise your vibration powerfully. So 4D, there's much more flexibility. Things manifest much faster. This is where we can start to break down our own belief systems and start to experience more extrasensory ability. And this is where we are right now. Some people, like I said, are a little bit more aware of it than others. There's no hierarchy of you are better or you are this. We're all souls having this kind of experience. But as the collective consciousness change, so in a way, we create our own reality from our thoughts. We have electromagnetic energy around our body that continues, that has the emotions that we feel, the beliefs we have. And as we go through our daily life, we resonate with certain experiences. Now, in a way, what is happening is as we raise our vibration, or as we go through this understanding, as we do it and it starts to leak into the collective consciousness, that will change the belief patterns of the collective consciousness, and things will begin to expand very quickly. That's when a snowball effect will begin to happen. And all of this, I'm saying, it may appear to be negative. Like, you can look, because a part of the transition we're going through is a breakdown of the 3D concepts, of the 3D idea. So what are some things that are breaking down? The financial system, the governments, the trust in the leaders, the economic system is starting to, or not the economic, but the global, like the way we treat the planet. We're becoming more aware of our connection to it and how we can't do that. We're becoming more aware of how we are affecting everything else. And because of that, some systems will fall down. The governments will continue to fall down. There may be some more, not necessarily war, but that kind of energy. There may be a lot of conflict still. That's because the old systems are breaking down and we are transitioning into a higher state of consciousness. So over time, we will become more aware of that. But having that awareness in 4D makes it a lot easier. So when you're aware that these things have to break down, it makes it easier, because I'm like, okay, it's not like the government's going to shit. It's like, that's just part of the process. Part of the process is these old systems have to break down. We normally used to always elect that of politicians to be president. Now we have a business guy. I mean, that kind of threw away the concept of it. And I'm not saying that Trump is good or bad. I'm just saying that it is changing. And in a way, Trump is part of the collective consciousness of what we are. It kind of represents the ego in a way. And it's showing us where we are collectively and how we can choose something different if we want it. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just observing it and saying that as we change as a collective consciousness, so will the outside things change as well. So energetically, some of the old is going away, some of the new is coming in, and we're going to keep refining that which we want to experience. So this is a process, but it is a process of a lot more enjoyment, because you can create what you want in a much higher vibrational state. You can start to find things manifesting much faster, and it will continue to get quicker and quicker. If you've noticed, the perception of time has sped up so much because things are speeding up. It's not that time is speeding up, our vibration is speeding up, which means our perception of time is quote unquote speeding up. So it's a level of consciousness we're starting to get into. So now let's get into 5D consciousness, which is ultimately where we're going to continue to move towards. 5D level of consciousness is understanding unity consciousness, that we are all connected, that every single one of us is a reflection of each other, that what is good for you is also good for me. One of the things I've always been a believer in since I've started a YouTube channel is the more value I add to you, the more value I add to myself, because you are an extension of me. Not my ego me, there's an underlying energy that we're all connected to, so the more good I put out, the more I'm actually helping myself. So in a way, I'm very selfish, because the more I help you, the more I help this collective consciousness, which I am a part of. So I mean that in a very sarcastic way. Of course, I'm not doing it for the betterment of myself. There's a part of it, of course, that's like, I'm also able to do what I love. I'm able to, have the freedom to travel and speak with people and to do seminars and stuff. That's a part of the process. However, the key is understanding the more you get into 5D consciousness, the more you also are service to others, because the awareness is there that others are you, that we are all connected. This is where we get into a much different level of consciousness, where sometimes then the fun of 4D, because 4D can be a lot of fun, because then there's more flexibility, there's more malleability, and more opportunities to do things, because there's more abilities there. There's more awareness and perception there. However, eventually, you want to merge more and more with unconditional love. And just like that scale I was talking about earlier, when we look at that scale, you see that eventually we get to love and above. And when we get to love and above, we start to embody more of those higher states of consciousness. And normally when you hear people talk about 5D, 4D, 3D, they're talking about also a place that you go to. I'm here to say that I believe that it's not just a place, that maybe there are other places in the universe that are 5D consciousness, and I'm sure there are. However, I'm saying that here and now, we are here to experience that of the 4 and 5D states of consciousness. We are shifting through it right now. The planet is going through this as well, and we are starting to vibrate in this new way. Time will speed up. At least the perception of it will, because time doesn't really exist. And we will start to raise our vibration. And if you want a free guided meditation that will help you to raise your vibration, that will help to make this transition very easy, I have a free guided meditation at the top of the description box. It will help you to raise your vibrational set point. It's something that changed my life, doing and applying some of the visuals and the type of way I go about it in meditation. So if that resonates with you right now, go ahead and download that meditation. It's absolutely free. It'll be in the top of the description box. And I'll also be doing more live Q&As on Instagram. So if you want more live interaction with me to ask me questions, go ahead and follow me on Instagram below. I'll go ahead and put that right over here for you guys. And other than that, remember, you are an immortal spiritual being having a temporary human experience. We all signed up to go through this transition together. This isn't a doom and gloom type thing. This is a very empowering time to be alive right now. I believe that things will continue to get better and better. There'll be hiccups along the way. There'll be some negative things that happen, but as long as you remain in awareness of how you feel in relation to what is happening, you will remain in your power. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you guys liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that little notification here so that you can see the daily vids that I do. And other than that, as always, peace, much love.